Today, we're diving into a real biological mystery. We're talking about an organism that acts like a virus, but it's also kind of like a bacterium, and it's a total master of disguise. It's called chlamydia, and believe me, it's a true cellular imposter.
So, here's what we've got lined up. First, we're going to unmask this biological puzzle. Then, we'll explore its clever two-faced invasion strategy. After that, we'll look at its devastating global impact, from the blinding disease trachoma to its role as a silent epidemic. And finally, we'll see how we're fighting back.
All right, so first things first. We have to tackle the fundamental question that had scientists scratching their heads for decades. What is this thing?
For the longest time, chlamydia just didn't fit into any neat little box. The way it behaved, how it infected cells, even how scientists had to study it, everything screamed virus. But there were other clues pointing in a completely different direction, creating a real identity crisis for this tiny organism.
And here's where you can see that split personality really clearly. On one side, just like a virus, it absolutely has to live inside a host cell to survive. But on the other side, it's got both DNA and RNA. It has its own little protein-making factories called ribosomes, and, this is the big one, you can kill it with antibiotics. Those are all classic traits of a bacterium.
So what's the final verdict? Well, it turns out it is a bacterium, but a really weird one that has learned to act like a virus. The fancy scientific term is obligate intracellular parasite. It's a mouthful, I know, but all it really means is that this organism must get inside another cell to reproduce. That unique survival strategy really puts it in a class of its own.
And why does it have to be a parasite? Well, it's because it's a tiny energy thief. See, chlamydia is missing the biological gear to make its own ATP, which is the energy currency for all life. So it evolved to do one thing brilliantly: sneak into our cells and just steal their energy to power its own existence.
Okay, so we know what it is now, but how it survives is where things get really fascinating. This isn't just any invader. It's a two-faced one, living a life built entirely on deception.
Chlamydia's life of deception involves two totally different forms. Think of it like a spy with two identities. First, you've got the elementary body, or EB. This is the tough, armored-up attacker, built to survive out in the open. But once it gets inside a cell, it transforms into the reticulate body, or RB. This bigger, more fragile form that's basically just a replication factory hidden safely away inside the host. And this dual identity allows for a brilliant four-step invasion. It's like a heist. Step 1, the tough EB latches onto a host and slips inside. Step 2, it changes into the RB factory and starts hijacking the cell's resources to make copies of itself. Step 3, all those new copies transform back into the tough, infectious EBs. And finally, Step 4, the host cell bursts open, releasing a whole new army to start the cycle all over again.
Now, this microscopic drama has massive, real-world consequences. We're going to zoom way out now, from what's happening inside a single cell to the entire globe, and look at one of the most devastating diseases caused by chlamydia: trachoma.
The scale of this problem is just enormous. I mean, look at this map from the World Health Organization. It shows what they call a trachoma belt stretching across some of the world's poorest regions. This isn't just a local problem, it is a full-blown global public health crisis. And that map translates into this just staggering number: 540 million people. To put that in perspective, that's nearly 10% of the entire planet's population at risk of going blind from this one bacterial infection. And the way this happens is just brutal. Repeated infections, usually starting in childhood, cause severe scarring on the inside of the eyelid. The scar tissue then tightens and actually pulls the eyelashes inward. So with every single blink, those lashes scrape across the cornea, causing constant pain and slowly but surely scraping away a person's sight until it's gone for good.
And you have to understand, trachoma isn't just a medical problem. It's a disease of poverty. It thrives in hot, dry places where clean water for washing is a luxury. It spreads incredibly easily on flies, on shared towels, on unwashed hands, which is why poor hygiene allows it to just tear through entire communities.
But chlamydia's impact doesn't stop at the eyes. The very same family of bacteria is responsible for one of the most common sexually transmitted infections in the world, an epidemic that is so dangerous because it's largely silent and hidden from view. Now, I know the CDC data is from back in the 80s and 90s, but it shows a critical trend that continues today, a dramatic rise in cases and a really stark difference between the sexes. You can see infection rates in women have always been much, much higher than in men, and there's a very specific reason for that.
That reason is summed up right here. In over 70% of cases, women who have chlamydia have zero symptoms. None. It is completely silent. And that is what makes it so dangerous. Because if you don't know you have it, you can't get it treated, and you can unknowingly pass it on, all while it's causing serious long-term damage.
An untreated infection can set off this devastating domino effect of complications. It can travel up the reproductive tract in women, causing pelvic inflammatory disease or PID, which can lead to chronic pain, dangerous pregnancies, and even infertility. And beyond that, in both men and women, the body's own immune reaction can trigger severe inflammation in the joints, leading to a painful form of arthritis.
Okay, I know. That all sounds pretty bleak. But there is really good news here. Despite how sneaky and complex chlamydia is, we have some powerful tools for diagnosis and defense.
So how do we catch this cellular imposter? Well, we have a solid toolkit. Scientists can actually grow it in the lab. They can spot its telltale signs inside cells using powerful microscopes, or they can use these really cool tests that make the bacteria literally light up under fluorescent light in a patient's sample.
And this right here is probably the most important takeaway of all. Chlamydia is completely treatable. Common, standard antibiotics are super effective, and sometimes a single dose is all it takes to wipe out the infection. The biggest challenge isn't the cure, it's just getting diagnosed in the first place.
So we've unmasked it as a parasite, a two-faced invader, and the cause of ancient plagues and modern epidemics. But the story isn't over, not by a long shot. New research is now finding links between this ancient organism and chronic conditions like heart disease and even Alzheimer's. It really makes you wonder, after all this time evolving right alongside us, what other secrets is this cellular imposter still hiding inside our very own cells?